Can you imagine walking 10 days from Navadvip to Jagannath Puri and your friend ignores you? Can you imagine? They must have felt very much, But of course they understood. They understood, externally at least. Raghunath Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bhajan Darpan commentary in Manashiksha, Shloka 1, quotes Raghunath Das Goswami as having said that one's devotion is the external indication of your internal cultivation. I really like that line. External indication of internal cultivation. So, it probably could cause, Gauranga's ecstasies could probably cause his associate to wonder what he was tasting. Because only, like Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, when he wrote, there was one point when Gauranga was seeing Jagannath and showing some ecstasies. I think it's described in Madhya Lila chapter 5. And then Rupa Goswami penned a shloka and stuck it to the thatch of the roof of the hut and went to take bath in the sea. And Gauranga happened to come back from taking his bath and he saw that shloka attached to the thatch, and he plucked it off and read it. And he says, it was a very famous verse where Radharani is speaking in Kurukshetra that, my dear friend, I'm here and I am the same and Krishna's the same. And we're here in Kurukshetra and it's very nice, but I'm just not satisfied. I would rather like to see him playing the fifth note in the forest of Vrindavan. My heart wants that. So, and the verse was like that. And then Gauranga asked Saurabh Damodar that how is it that Rupa Goswami understand my heart so well? And Saurabh Damodar replied, it must have been that you must have empowered him and given him an extraordinary amount of mercy. Otherwise, how is it possible for anybody to understand your heart? Gauranga said, yes, in the Dashashvamedha Ghat in Prayag, I did empower him, and I did give him mercy. And yes, it's a fact. But aside from Rupa Goswami Prabhupada and a few others, Sanatana Bhatt and others, understanding Gauranga's ecstasy was very few. There's a little bit in Raghunath Das Goswami's Gauranga Stavakopa Vriksha, where he glorifies, remembers the son of Sachi, that when will that son of Sachi again come upon the path of my eyes? Thinking about him just simply makes me mad in remembering him. Raghunath Das Goswami says in Gauranga Stavakopa Vriksha, Raghunath Das Goswami did not write very much because he was mostly absorbed in bhajan. He was the Prayojana Acharya and he was tasting and relishing bhajan and how people should do at the very end of their life. He was setting that example. And so Raghunath Das was mostly doing Manasa Seva, and it was Jai Nath, Jai Jagannath Baladi Subhadra, Jai Raghunath Vishwara, Jai Tulsi Rani. So Raghunath Das was hardly externally aware. So this Gauranga, when you consider the activities of the Prayojana Acharya Raghunath Das Goswami, that he was hardly externally aware. And when you consider Gauranga Stavakopa Vriksha in that light, then it really gives you an extenuated appreciation for the nectar of that statement, of those statements of Raghunath Das Goswami and Gauranga Stavakopa Vriksha. Each shloka actually shines nice about Gauranga's. There are many. The Reminiscence says, what do we have? When Gauranga was not hardly externally aware, then all the Parashara that visited from Jagannath, from Navadvip and came with Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Acharya, Shivananda Sain and others, all they could do was take darshan of Gauranga and relish the past. Relish the past ecstasies of their association and the happiness of their association. Really, that's all they could do. Because Gauranga was in a whole other plane of consciousness, hardly externally aware. And only Ramananda Roy and Saurabh Damodar had entrance to that ecstasy. Of course, Govinda. Govinda was serving Gauranga Mahaprabhu's Vapu, his external body, as ordered by his spiritual master, Srila Ishwara Puri. He was serving his godbrother. Govinda was serving Gauranga. He understood to some degree, but nobody understood it like Saurabh Damodar and Raya Ramananda. And therefore, Ramananda Samvad, the ultimate goal of life, is a really interesting little booklet about it, about these things, about the topics. And it progresses very nicely from ordinary conversation to more intimate topics. And each point, Ramananda Rai was saying, when Gauranga would ask him to speak about some topic, he would say, "My dear Lord, you know everything. Yet, out of your desire, you are simply putting the words in my mouth and I'm speaking as you direct. You're the puppeteer, and I'm simply dancing according to your will. And I'm simply speaking according to your will." So, Ramananda Rai was saying that Gauranga's mercy was the one that was allowing him to speak. It's very, very exalted topics. It's the very same humility that you can experience, at least in Harinam Chintamani. When Gauranga is having a samvad, a conversation with Haridas Thakur about the glories of the holy name, and Haridas Thakur is speaking about the glories of the holy name in the same light, much in the same light, that Gauranga is simply dancing on my tongue and I'm speaking according to what you order me to. So it's quite interesting and very fulfilling. And when you read that, devotees become happy. Studying it intimately is actually the food for matter for devotees. For the devotees, intimate for devotees. Ramananda Samvad is not for public consumption. And therefore, when Gauranga ecstasies of meeting, Milana, of meeting Ramananda Rai were there, when Gauranga noticed that the external people, the external Brahmins were there, he subdued his ecstasies voluntarily. This reminds me of Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Kanda, chapter 2. Chapter 1 and chapter 2, wherein Sachimata is a little bit concerned that her boy has become mad in love of God. And she's wondering, what should I do? Should I take him to a doctor or should I give him some medicine first? So she talked with Srivas Thakur. Now Srivas Thakur was literally the same age as her husband. In pictures, they paint Srivas Thakur to look like a young boy as if he's a Dvaitacharya's son. I'm sorry. He was old. He was as old as Jagannath Mishra was. So Sachimata could confide, open her mind to Srivas Thakur, that I'm worried about my boy. And I don't know, he's the only son I've got. Well, because Vishwarupa at that time had evidently had taken sannyas and gone. So Sachimata was very concerned for the welfare of Gauranga. And Gauranga should be happy. And I, as a mother, I just want to make sure my son is happy and all right. And I'm worried about his welfare. So what should I do? Should I give him some medicine, or how should I deal with this malady? It's like, appears to be like winds, some vayu, some wind affliction, like that. And Srivas Thakur says in Chaitanya Bhagavat that my dear mother, you don't have to worry about your boy. That actually his affliction is very good, and we would like some of it. He said, we would also like to have some of that affliction, and if you just be patient and don't say anything about it, maybe you'll see more.